Let's begin today's lesson with a quick review of our database from Access 101. First, let's begin by opening up our database from Access 101. Now, if you did not take Access 101, you can use the database that was included on the CD-ROM or when you downloaded your copy of Access 102. You can find it by going to My Computer and then open up your C drive, which is where the software is installed. Open up your Program Files folder. Go to the 599 CD folder. Open up the Access 102 folder. Go to the Help folder. You'll see it's buried pretty deep, but this is where it's located. And you'll see, amongst other files, two files in here, PCResale.net customer database, and then a copy of the customer database after class. What are these? Well, the first one is a copy of the database as it should be at the start of class. In other words, the database from when we finished Access 101. The after class database is a database as it will be at the end of today's class. So if you want to pick up with the database from the end of today's class, you can use this copy. Now, if you were a good little student and you actually went through and built the database from Access 101, you should be able to open it up by just opening up Access. And then from your recent files list, you'll see the PCResale.net customer database. Or those of you using an older version of Access can, of course, click on File and then Open. You should see your copy of your database right here. And then we'll click on Open. Whatever you have to do to open up your database from Access 101, whether you use the copies that we've given you with Access 102, or you use the copy that you built in Access 101, now is the time to open it up so we can review what we did before. Now, if you didn't follow along with all the examples exactly as we did them in Access 101, you might want to consider using our copy of the database that we supply, just so we're on the same page for learning with today's lessons. Once again, I strongly recommend to all my students that you follow along with me with my examples while you're learning the material. Don't try to apply this immediately to what you're doing with your own personal database. Try to follow along with my examples, build the database that I'm building, whether you need it or not, just to learn the examples. Then, when you're done with the course for today, go ahead and apply the lessons that you're going to learn to what you're doing in your database. So let's take a quick look at what we did in Access 101. First, we created a customer table. Let's open that up. We learned how to create a table to store customer information. We have our customer ID. Remember, that's an auto number, a unique value for each record in the database. We have our standard fields such as first name, last name, company name, and so on. Remember, no spaces in our field names. We've got our phone number and fax numbers. Today I'm going to show you how to display these a little better so it's not just a jumble of numbers. We have our address, city, state, zip code, and so on. And different types of data. We have our customer cents, which is a date field. We have our credit limit, which is a currency field. Our active, which is a checkbox or a yes-no field. Again, if you recall, tables by themselves are great, but they're not very flexible. So we have queries. We made ourselves a customer query to show customers only from New York. And if we go to Design View up here, you can see the different components of the query builder. Here's our table that we get all of our fields from, and the columns in our query. We put criteria in our state column by putting New York down here inside of quotes. And that's how we can control the data that the query displays. We also built a customer form for displaying the information on the screen as a nice, pretty user interface for our end users. Here's our customer form. We'll do some more work with this today. And finally, we built a mailing label report using the mailing label wizard. And there are our mailing labels.